The world is imploding. AI's taken over everything. Why does writing even matter? It's because our stories matter. There are so many layers packed into that value. One of them is just understanding our own stories. I mean, you've done it. I've done it. You've been the recipient. You've been the deliverer of monologues. And not just monologues like some pretty Shakespearean speech, but I'm talking about just never ending pouring of words. I know there have been days with friends who are listening graciously where I have to splay out some endless tale that doesn't really accomplish anything, but it's just the need, this internal pressure where I have to process something. A lot of times people refer to themselves as verbal processors, and I think that's BS. A verbal processor is just a person who's making an excuse for like word dumping. Now, word dumping itself is excusable, but that's not a conversation style. It's when you go to a friend and you have some internal pressure, some pain or need or misery or memory, whatever it might be, and you just need to dump. And that's okay. And that's kind of the point. So writing is the exercise of dumping our insides out onto paper. And again, I barely mentioned the layers packed into that, but there are so many goods interwoven through the whole process of writing. So one advantage is just you get to word dump whenever you want, which is great. But as you get into the habit, and it takes a long time, it's a lifelong practice. But when you practice writing, when you practice getting your words out, you start to see your own story unfold. And I need to emphasize, it takes for freaking ever. So many of my writing friends, like my friends who have written, do write, want to write, dream of writing, they haven't written much comparatively. Now pause for me. First, like just as an example, the first Harry Potter series is roughly 1,000,000 words. 1,000,000, that sounds insane, doesn't it? But 1,000,000 words, a Harry Potter series it's a hefty series, but that's just 1,000,000 words. Okay, and the average book is somewhere between 80 to 120,000 words. Those numbers sound crazy, but that's just because it's one word at a time, and it includes the A's and the thes and the B's and the ands, all the little trinket words. I mention that because to get into the habit, you have to write hundreds of thousands, if not millions of words, and then you can begin to see your own story unfolding. And I say begin to see your own story unfolding. Begin and unfold. Those are two key words. The begin is you don't suddenly understand yourself and the universe. You begin to see pieces of your story. You begin to see some explanations for your own life, or some reasons, or just some realities. So the first huge chunk of the value of writing is self-reflection. That's already a tremendous thing. And then the second huge realm that comes up is communication. So like it's never ending, the never ending desire to be known, to be understood. And that's why we do info dumps with a lot of our friends where we're just blabbing on forever. But practicing writing gives us the tools to start understanding ourselves, which in turn gives us the tools to start explaining ourselves. I don't mean explain like, here, let me explain my life and excuse the various choices I make. I don't mean explain like you have to justify. I just mean explain like, this is what's going on inside of me, you might say to a friend, or this is what I felt, or this is what I thought, or this is what I've been thinking, or this is what I've been longing for. So many different ways to express the churnings inside, but practicing writing helps us communicate. And then, this isn't the exhaustive list of what goodness is packed inside of writing, but I'm going to go for a third layer and leave it at that. The third layer, the third value of writing is learning. And it might include like a little bit of academic learning, like technical stuff, but I mean learning in the sense of just life, learning the flow of existence, flowing through existential crises, discovering how to handle problems or how to sit with emotions, your own or others' emotions. Writing lets you explore things you are feeling but are afraid to say out loud in plain terms, or lets you explore things you've never imagined before, and you can start testing emotions, ideas, fears, hopes, dreams, or even just imaginary worlds. And sometimes we think, and here, like one little addendum I want to add. So many times I've had funny conversations with friends who talk about how they prefer nonfiction because it's real. And it's backward. I think that's backwards. Nonfiction is just the lazy stuff that we think we know. That's we limit ourselves when we only read nonfiction. It's because we're afraid of experiencing something we don't yet understand. Fiction, while many fiction novels or much of fiction literature is technically untrue, not real, it still explores things that are real: feelings, challenges, frustrations, fears, pains, hopes, hurts, all of it. And even then, it stretches our imaginations to encompass things that could be. I mean, if you rewind a couple hundred years or 1,000 years, what we have today is a fiction, would be a fiction in their minds. I don't know how to tense it correctly, but if somebody looked at today's world, they'd think it's just a fiction. Somebody 1,000 years ago looked at today's world. You get the idea. You get the idea. The point I'm trying to say is fiction stretches our minds, and sometimes it stretches it just to imaginative realms where we can explore. But sometimes it pushes our reality. It expands reality. So the world is huge and terrifying and chaotic, and there are so many priorities pressed upon us. But writing, I think, stands as one of the perennial values, because it shows us ourselves. It helps us show ourselves to others. And it helps us see just more in general. So, I mean, that's what I think about writing in and of itself. That's definitely why I love writing, and I think that's why you should love writing too, and I just wanted to share that with you. So yeah, go write.